Hi, I'm Madeline, your meteorologist, and I am bringing you the weather for May 16th, 2003. As you may see, high and low pressure systems are scattered all across the United States. There are 4 lows in the United States. One of them is all the way down in northern Texas, off the coast of North Carolina, in the center of Ohio, and in southwest Arizona, there are more low-pressure systems, which will bring lousy, rainy weather. 2 highs are also found. One of them is right above Maine, and another is in northeast Arizona. This will bring clear skies and sunny weather. If you were to a high-pressure system is a cool, dry air mass that mostly brings fair weather and light winds. It's also a swirling mass of cool, dry air. The winds spiral out of a high-pressure center in a clockwise rotation in the northern hemisphere, moving air molecules down. A low pressure is a mass of warm, moist air that mostly brings stormy weather and strong winds. It is also a whirling mass of warm, moist air. The winds spiral into a low-pressure center in a counterclockwise rotation in the northern hemisphere, moving air molecules up. There are 4 fronts in the United States, but this one up in Canada may affect the United States because it is moving south. A cold front is when fast-moving cold air runs into a slow-moving warm air mass. The cold air slides underneath the light, warm air. Since it moves quickly, it causes abrupt weather changes, including storms. After it passes, it leaves clear skies, a shift in wind, and low temperatures. A warm front is when fast-moving warm air overtakes a slow-moving cold air mass. If the air is humid, light rain accompanies. If dry, scattered clouds form. Warm fronts move slowly, making rain and clouds last for several days. A stationary front is when cold and warm air meet, but neither one can move. That is because they are kind of in a standoff. Where they meet, water vapor in the warm air condenses into rain, fog, and clouds. It could bring precipitation for days. There is a cold front right here in Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma moving south. Another cold front is in northwest, moving southeast. A warm front is in a stationary front is right here in Arkansas, not moving because it is a stationary front. And there's another stationary front rounding here. There is also a warm front up in Canada, but that does not affect the United States. An air mass is when a huge body of air that has similar temperature and humidity and air pressure at any given height. They are classified by 2 things, temperature and humidity. Maritime is when it's over water, and continental is when it's over land. Polar is cold and tropical is hot. We have a nice maritime polar coming in through here, as you can see, because we have that nice cold front right there. We also have a continental polar coming right here, coming down to Texas, where we have this nice cold front. We have a continental tropical going up in northwest, and we have a continental polar coming down south. This is precipitation. There is some precipitation, mostly in the northeast and northwest. How the rain forms is first the runoff is evaporated and condensed into clouds. Runoff is the water on the land. Then the water comes down as rain. The cycle starts again. Some of the rain is soaked into the ground through infiltration. It makes sense that there is precipitation, which is represented by green, Because of the low pressures near. There's a low pressure here and here, which is probably why there's precipitation here. There's also a low pressure here, which is probably why there's rain there and rain over here because of this low pressure. Also, the isobars over here are very close together, meaning that there will be strong winds, which means this could be a storm. But over here, it is very wide apart, which means only very light winds will occur. Over here, the winds, in this section, the winds will be strong. Over here, they will be lighter. They will be pretty mild in this section of rain. You should expect some rain if you live in New York, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and over in this section. Also, if you live in Montana, Washington, and Canada, and Georgia. Generally, the temperature will be nice. Up in the north, for the highs, it will be in the 60s, 70s, and 80s for the maximum, but for the minimum, it will be in the 50s and 60s. The reason it will be cooler is because it's farther away from the equator. Down in the south, however, it will be warmer in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and right here in Texas in the 100s for the maximum, but for the minimum, it will be in the 60s, 70s, 60s and 70s, and possibly some 50s. Down in Austin, Texas, it will be to the 80, 100 degrees. Up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it will be from the 50s to 70 degrees. In Seattle, Washington, it will be from the 40s to 60 degrees. And in Miami, Florida, it will be from 80 to 90 degrees. Some temperature patterns are, we have some nice 70, 60 weather, and it goes there, but then it stops right up at Maine where it goes down to 60. Up in Washington and a little bit of Oregon, we have some 60 weather. Then it goes down and gets hotter as we go down, and finally gets very hot when you end up in Texas. Also, as in the lows, it just starts out colder in the 40s and then goes down and gets very warm into the 80s. Now we are on to isobars. An isobar is a line on a map that brings points together that have the same atmospheric pressure at a given height or given time. They normally form around high or low pressure systems. The average pressure is 10, 13 millibars. So there will be no bars around 10, 13. When the isobars are very close together, you will have stronger winds. But when they are far apart, you will have very light winds. So down here in Texas and Oklahoma, there will be stronger winds. Also, up in Montana, there will also be strong winds because of the close isobars. But over here in Wisconsin, there will be barely any wind because the isobars are so spread apart. Thanks for watching your weather forecast for May 16th, 2003. I'm Madeline C., signing off.